Assembly elected Vital Kamehe, whose home was violently attacked on Sunday, as the Speaker in a delayed vote, a key step towards installing a government 5 months after a presidential election. The role of Speaker makes Kamehe a close ally of President Felix Tshisekedi, the Central African country's number 2 authority. Of the 407 members of parliament who cast ballots on Monday, 371 voted in favor of Kamehe's candidacy for Speaker. MPs were also set to vote on candidacies for 6 other positions in the lower house. The vote clears the way for Congo to name a government, which it has not had since the December 2023 presidential election that handed Tshisekedi a second term. Tshisekedi named Judith Suminwa, Congo's first female prime minister, on April 1st. The vote had been scheduled for May 18th, but was delayed by Tshisekedi. On May 19th, Congolese security forces said they had foiled an attempted coup and repelled an attack on Kamehe's home in the center of the capital, Kinshasa. Kamehe's spokesman, Michael Moto Muhima, said 2 guards were killed in the attack. The Sacred Union, Tshisekedi's coalition, has a majority in parliament with at least 90% of elected members of the 500 seats in parliament. Kamehe, 65, campaigned with Tshisekedi in the 2018 presidential election. Kamehe has previously served as Tshisekedi's chief of staff and as deputy prime minister of the economy. In 2020, he was arrested in a graft probe. A Tunisian court on Wednesday sentenced 2 journalists to 1 year in prison on charges of publishing false news that harms public security, a judicial official said, amid growing fears of a crackdown targeting all critical voices. Murad Gidi and Bohan Sais, both journalists with IFM Radio, were detained this month over political comments made on the radio. Tunisia has now imprisoned a total of 6 journalists, including Gidi and Besides, while dozens of others face judicial prosecution, according to the Journalist Syndicate, which is the country's main union for journalists. In May, police arrested 10 people, including journalists, lawyers, and officials of civil society groups in what Amnesty International called a deep crackdown targeting activists and journalists. Human Rights Watch has called on Tunisia to respect free speech and civil liberties. The judge decided to imprison them for they were not immediately available for comment. During his trial session, Zaz said, "I am a program presenter who presents all issues, and what I did was journalist work." Gidi also defended himself during the session. "I did not make a mistake. My work requires analyzing the political and economic situation, and I bear my responsibility," he said. Tunisian journalists gathered near the court on Wednesday, demanding an end to ongoing restrictions against journalists. Tunisia has become an open prison for journalists, Zidaba, the head of Journalist Syndicate, said. Threats and restrictions facing journalists in Tunisia are in violation, he added, without giving details. Since Tunisia's 2011 revolution, the country has been considered one of the more open. It has also cut off the main access routes for aid into Gaza, drawing international fears of mass casualties and famine. Israel says it has no choice but to attack the city to root out the last battalions of Hamas fighters it believes are sheltering there. Its troops have been slowly moving into the eastern outskirts of Rafah since the start of the month. Residents and militants said tanks have taken up new positions on Wednesday, further west than before, along the southern border fence with Egypt, and were tanks, said one resident of Rafah, asking for his name to be withheld, but they have advanced under heavy fire all night. During the October 7 raid that triggered the Gaza war, the captives' families hoped the footage would increase pressure on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to agree to a truce with Hamas and secure the hostages' release. The Netanyahu government saw the release of the subtitled 3-minute clip to national and international media as an opportunity to shore up support. Hamas defended its fighters' conduct and called the video a bid to manipulate public opinion. These girls are still in the captivity of Hamas. Please don't look away, Israeli government spokesperson David Mentor told reporters. Watch the film, supporting our people home. The footage shows the young women, all of them stunned and some bloodied, being bound and bundled into a jeep. I have friends in Palestine, one will step on you, dogs. Another gunman tells a captive, you are beautiful. The Hostages Families Forum, which represents relatives of the 124 people, mostly civilians, still held by Hamas, said in a statement that the footage was recovered from body cams worn by gunmen who attacked the Nahal airspace in southern Israel, where the women served as surveillance spotters. Shot Forum said, adding the Israeli government must not waste another moment, it must return to the negotiating table today. Within hours, Netanyahu's security cabinet convened and authorized an effort to renew the talks, which had stumbled over Hamas's demand that Israel end the Gaza war, in exchange for all the hostages, an Israeli official said. It was not immediately clear on when or what terms new negotiations might take place. Israel says 1,200 people were killed and more than 250 abducted in the October 7 attack led by Hamas. Israel responded by launching an offensive to eliminate the Iranian-backed Islamist group, in which Gaza health authorities say more than 35,000 Palestinians have been killed. Israel's military says 286 Israeli soldiers have also been killed. Qatar's Emir and the foreign ministers of Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates and Kuwait traveled on Wednesday to Tehran to attend the funeral of Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi, under whose tenure a historic deal that thawed relations between Tehran and its Gulf neighbors won relations with their neighbor. They had accused Iran of interfering in internal state affairs and backing regional foes, up until Riyadh and Tehran signed a landmark deal to normalize ties in 2023. In the same year, the UAE also within a century, with the UAE's Dubai long being one of Iran's main links to the outside world. Kuwait reappointed Saudi Arabia when it severed ties with the Islamic Republic in 2016. Tensions still simmered over the offshore Dura gas field, where Saudi Arabia and Kuwait claim exclusive Emir Abdullahi. Qatar's Emir, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, will reprimand the ambassadors of Ireland, Norway, and Spain on Thursday over their government's plan to recognize a Palestinian state next week, and Israel has stoked violence in the occupied West Bank. Some other Western powers say recognition of a Palestinian state should follow negotiations. Israeli forces killed 10 Palestinians and wounded 25 others in Palestinians, including a doctor and a teenager, during a major operation that involved dozens of vehicles and continued into the night. Witnesses and Palestinians, the number of those who were killed in Jenin to 10 and the total death toll to 516 in the West Bank since October 7, the Health Ministry added. Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Mustafa warned in a statement on Wednesday of the dangers of Israeli military escalation and settlers' attack in the West Bank. The occupied West Bank, which Palestinians want as the core of a future independent state along with Gaza, has seen a surge in violence since the start of the war in Gaza. A suspected gas explosion at a residential building in China's northeastern city of Harbin killed one person and injured 3 as it tore off a balcony, state media said on Thursday, while scattering rubble in the street. It is China's latest such incident after 2 people were killed and 26 injured in March following a massive blast caused by a suspected gas leak at a restaurant in the northern province of Hebei that ripped facades from building and crushed cars. Thursday's blast, suspected to have been caused by an explosion of a gas tank, happened by district officials. The officials in One News quoted witnesses as saying the blast was on the fourth floor of the building at a downtown intersection of the capital of the province of Heilongjiang. Residents heard a loud blast and suspected it was a gas explosion, the agency said, adding that the blast ripped off the balcony of the apartment and several others nearby. People ran out of the building. Ambulances, public security and fire officials mounted a rescue operation at the site, Zinro said. The cause of the explosion is being further investigated, the China said. Video images from a car dashboard camera showed the blast spewing debris onto a nearby. The leaders of South Korea, China and Japan, Seoul's presidential office said on Thursday, South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol will hold bilateral talks with Chinese Premier Li Xiang and Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida on Sunday ahead of their three-way gathering on Monday, Deputy National Security Advisor Kim Tae-yong said. The three will adopt a joint statement on 6 areas, including the economy and trade, science and technology, people-to-people exchanges and health and the aging population, he said. The summit system, while providing an opportunity to secure momentum for forward-looking practical cooperation from which the people of the 3 countries can feel the benefits, Kim told the briefing. The neighbors had agreed to hold a summit every year starting in 2008 to boost regional cooperation, but the initiative has been disrupted by bilateral feuds and the COVID-19 pandemic. Their last trilateral summit was in late 2019. The summit comes as South Korea and Japan have been working to improve ties strained by historical dispute while deepening a trilateral security partnership with the United States amid intensifying Sino-US rivalry. Beijing has previously warned that Washington's efforts to further elevate relations with Seoul and Tokyo could stoke tensions and confrontation in the region. South Korea and Japan have also warned against any attempts to forcibly change the status quo on the Taiwan Strait, while China on Tuesday criticized the decision by South Korean and Japanese lawmakers to attend Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te's inauguration. But Kim said the issue would have no impact at all on the upcoming summit, as Seoul has consistently maintained the One China principle. The 3 countries were also expected to discuss North Korea's evolving weapons program, which South Korea and Japan have urged China to do more to address. Thailand's exports returned to growth in April and at a much faster pace than analysts' expectations, and the Commerce Ministry said on Thursday, shipments were expected to eke out a small gain in the second quarter. Custom-based exports rose 6.8% in April from a year earlier, beating a forecast in a poll and compared with March's 10.9% decline. Exports, a key driver of Southeast Asia's second-largest economy, dropped 6.7% from March. However, exports this year will continue to grow well due to increased demand for industrial goods, which aligns with the global economic recovery and easing inflation, while volatile weather conditions will drive up agricultural prices, the Commerce Ministry said in a statement. We expect exports to rise by 0.8% to 1% in the second quarter, Punpong Nayanapakon, head of the ministry's Trade Policy and Strategy Office, told a press conference. Chachan Chariasuk, chairman of the Thai National Shippers Council, noted the export momentum but said geopolitical problems pose high risks. In the first 4 months of 2024, exports rose 1.4% from a year earlier. The ministry is maintaining its export growth target of 1% to 2% this year after a fall of 1% in 2023. North Korean media have published photographs showing Kim Jong-un portrait hanging prominently next to those of his father and grandfather in an apparent push to solidify his status as a leader equal to his forebears. The photographs appear to be the first time state media was publishing his portrait, hanging beside those of state founder Kim Il-sung and his late father Kim Jong-un II, who ruled the nation until his sudden death in 2011. The photographs taken at the opening of a new school training cadets for the ruling Workers' Party show giant portraits of the three generations displayed on the facade of the imposing structure. In other photographs, Kim was shown speaking to aides, including the cabinet premier, in classrooms with the portraits of the trio hanging above the blackboard at the front. Kim told the opening ceremony the location of the school was chosen as it was close to the palace where Kim II Sung and Kim Jong-sak lie in state so that the great leaders can hear every word of even whispering students, press said. North Korean media have published photographs showing Kim portrait hanging prominently next to those of his father and grandfather in an apparent push to solidify his status as a leader equal to his forebears. The photographs taking at the opening of a new school training cadets for the ruling Workers' Party showed giant portraits of the three generations displayed on the facade of the imposing structure. Indonesia's parliament is proposing changes to its broadcast law that would ban investigative journalism and LGBT content, sparking criticism from civil society groups and filmmakers over restrictions to press freedom and creative expression. Changes to the 2002 broadcast law were first discussed in 2020, but the details in the latest revision have spurred concern, with Indonesia's press council saying it would undermine media independence. The impact on press freedom is very serious, said Arif Zulkifli, head of the Council's Law and Legislation Division. Indonesia's press law says there must not be any censorship or banning of journalism. So this is contradictory. The government is yet to receive the draft bill, Communications Minister Budiara Setiadi said, adding the revisions must not muzzle media freedom. The planned curbs on journalism in the world's third largest democracy would harm freedom of expression and hard-won liberties since Indonesia emerged from decades of authoritarian rule in 1998, journalism and civil society organizations say. The bill does not provide details on the proposed ban on investigative reporting and how it might work, but journalist groups were concerned about censorship. It will mean that we as journalists will no longer be able to reveal important stories such as on corruption, nepotism and environmental crimes, said Bayu Wadana, head of the Association of Independent Journalists of the bill. If the bill is implemented, there will be no press independence. The chair of Indonesia's Press Council, Ninik Rahayu, said, adding that the Council had not been consulted during the bill's drafting process. The bill has drawn criticism also because it seeks to ban content displaying violence, mysticism, LGBT, or negative behavior or lifestyles that potentially harm the public. Prominent filmmaker Joko Anwar slammed the proposal, describing it as dangerous and impossible to implement. The ban on such content not only impedes the creativity of the creative industry and freedom of the press, but also undermines people's capacity to filter what they watch, he said. Legislators from Commission 1, which is overseeing the bill, have stressed the bill's revisions are in the initial phases and subject to change. We don't want to give the impression that we are homophobic and monitor excessively, said Nico Sayan, a Commission 1 member, adding the law would be strongly debated. Homosexuality is a taboo subject in Indonesia, one of the world's most populous Muslim-majority nations, where it is illegal in the Sharia-ruled Aceh province. You are watching the international news on Atlantic Television Network. We will be back after this break.
Get ready as Morrison Communications Limited proudly presents Children's Day Celebration 2024.
Arts. La Small Hotel and Resorts, number 9, Room Calabo off Waterlines, Pastor, Port Hackett.
On Saturday, May 25th, starting at 8 a.m. Inter-school march past competition,
Dance competition, drama competition. Parents, teachers and children alike, don't miss out on the fun with Uncle Clown bouncing castle as we cut the Children's Day cake. Admission is just 2,000 naira per child. For participation and sponsorship opportunities, call us now 0806 673 8689 and 0810 634 1777.
This event is proudly sponsored by the Last Mall Hotel and Resort with Atlantic Television Network and 99.5 Wish FM Port Hackett, Lesuka Event Center, Gate Place Hotel, 8 Ball Hotel and Lounge, Oma Studio, Osgia Table Water.
remember that every child is unique. See you there. This event is managed by Pace Expressions Arts.
Special guest appearance, Hilda Dokubo, Children's Day Celebration 2024.
Driver, why you just dey jack us up and down like this now?
I hope nobody carry belle.
Why you ask go?
Because this road where you
Just dey vote for government, but we not get good governance.
At all.
Road so e no dey, light o usai, the infrastructure nko e come turn to be forbidden fruit for the city.
Corruption, spoil everything. Hello?
Hello, madam. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Mrs. Ayeni. I am calling from the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs.
Okay. Okay, I've been expecting your call.
Madam, remove this your phone from loudspeaker.
No vex, now my phone be like that. Hello?
Are you there?
I hear, I'm hearing you.
Yes. We saw a copy of your invoice for computers, printers, and laptops.
Yes. Are you working on them now?
Ma, the prices you quoted are way too high now.
Madam, sorry, please don't cost.
We found the laptop you said is 1.8 million naira for 600,000 naira.
Hello?
Now my body network there.
I can't hear you. Network is bad.
Madam, we can hear you. Continue.
Madam, now this kind behavior they kill our country. You suppose do things differently. Make Nigeria for better.
This message is brought to you by the Akinfade Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
I don't get a lot. Boy, they won't booga me small. They say, man, give them bribe. I say, nothing. Okay, now, we'll go block later. You remember that contract we will do that time now? They don't pay.
But first, you see the house rent with the old things. We go first call caretaker, take the money, slap him.
Beg, see, you know, say I get annual levy why they pay for club. Where me and boys they shout beer in our house, I go pay that one. You remember say me and tell you I go buy you motor. I go buy now.
Okay, they pay you money now. We don't they beg caretaker? Why would they beg landlord, old man, and they agree give us time? Money can't come now. You won't divert time. You said na corruption. Corruption, not in my house and not in my country.
Sure.
Corruption not in my country. This message is brought to you by the Akinfade Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
Corruption not in my country. Kasali, I hope so my car don't ready. I get interview in 30 minutes.
Okay, you not ready. I just the last minute instruction where you give me yesterday. Now in the cause more delay.
Which instruction?
Maybe now you say make I change the meter, make you no read again.
Which time I make you change meter? Oh, Kasali, why you do like this now? You don't get sense. You don't read the text message. Nobody I want send them to. Like Kasali, my electrician, make you come house, call me do my meter so that you don't go to read again. You the electrician?
The electrician.
Yes, now.
So you call Kasali electrician, make you come help you adjust your meter, make it for no read again, Abi. So you said you want join people where be say they no want they pay NEPA bill again, Abi. Oga, you know good now. You don't behave like all these stiff people.
What you change from your motor? What you change for?
Full light. Fuel gauge. Speedometer.
For what now? You for kukuma for home my motor. I better identify for me.
Okay. Now don't do something we corrupt. And something come backfire. Now go come they find how to dodge them.
What you talk?
They greet you.
This message is brought to you by the Akinfade Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
Corruption not in my country.
What you want to buy?
Potato. Small baskets. I want plantain. But why your plantain can't hard like this?
Madam, now the outside hard. Inside there, it is very soft.
Madam, wallahi make her no buy. Make her show you something. What? What in this one? Madam, this one now the chemical what they put on for the plantain. I didn't come now. I dey sell am plantain, I go come put am for chemical because I want to make a ripe go. That's why I talk now corruption. Corruption. Not be for this kaswa, come not be for this country. Now me take am.
Corruption not in my country.
This message is brought to you by the Akinfade Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
Get ready! As Morrison Communications Limited proudly presents Children's
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on 18.
Welcome back. This is the international news on Atlantic Television Network. Now the rest of our stories. Millions of young people took to the streets across Europe in 2019, demanding action to fight climate change, helping Green parties secure their best ever EU election results, and giving them influence over climate policies Brussels has passed since. That looks set to change. Polls suggest Greens will perform worse than any other political grouping in June's EU election, which will form the next 720-member European Parliament. They look to lose nearly a third of their current 72 EU lawmakers. It was, of course, a great feeling in 2019. People all loved us, and the climate was the #1 topic, Green EU lawmaker Anna Cavazzini told reporters. That's a little different now, of course. Overall, I would say there is a bit of social backlash against climate protection. Instead of hordes of young supporters in the streets, some Green candidates running this year have reported physical attacks and vandalism on the campaign trail. Fewer Greens in the next European Parliament will affect EU climate policy for the next 5 years, as the bloc's Green Deal moves into a politically sensitive phase in which the economic impact Shamaring is the deputy to Valery Gerasimov, head of the General Staff. Gerasimov has not been accused of any wrongdoing. On the scene reported. This is a purely civilian site. It is a Prince work that Prince books. Regional Police Chief Vladimir Timoshko told reporters at the scene. Timoshko said 2 missiles had hit the Prince work premises, with one landing nearby. Alexandra Filchakov, head of the Kharkiv Region Prosecutor's Office, said about 50 people had been in the Prince work when it was hit. Kharkiv is a hub of Ukraine's published attack, also injured 7 people in the Kharkiv district, the governor said. Russia stepped up its attack on Ukraine's northeastern region this spring, pummeling its energy and transport infrastructure using guided bombs, missiles and drones. Norway will further restrict access for Russian tourist travelers due to the ongoing war in Ukraine, blocking almost all entry, the Nordic country's Justice Ministry said on Thursday. NATO member Norway, which shares a border with Russia in the Arctic measuring almost 200 kilometers, first imposed restrictions on Russia tourist visas in 2022. The decision to treat of Russian citizens who are covered by the instruction, the ministry said. The annual net migration to the United Kingdom fell to 685 last year from 685,000 last year from a record high. Of 764,000 in 2022, but officials said it was too early to declare a downward trend in the number, which will be a major battleground in Britain's July 4th election. Sunak, who surprised the nation on Wednesday by calling the vote, is trailing opposition Labour in the polls. He has repeatedly promised to reduce the number of migrants coming to Britain through both illegal and illegal routes. The figures published on Thursday showed a drop on arrivals in 2022 that the Office of National Statistics revised up from 745,000. The ONS said it was too early to say if the fall was the start of a new downward trend. 8 years after Britain voted to leave the European Union to take back control of the country's borders, migration remains a hot political issue, and it will be prominent in the election debate. Net migration to Britain in the 2015, the year before the Brexit referendum, was 329,000. More of those arriving in 2023 were coming for work, which replaced study as the main reason for long-term migration, the ONS said. Britain's Nigel Farage, a leading Brexit campaigner and the honourary July general election. I will do my bit to help in the campaign for reform, but it is not the right time for me to go any further than that, Farage said in a statement on X. The choice between Labour and the Conservatives is uninspiring, and only reform have the radical agenda that is needed to end decline in this country. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump will host a campaign rally in the South Bronx neighborhood of New York on Thursday, targeting a Democratic stronghold as he tried to chip away at President Joe Biden's support among voters of color. Recent polls suggest Trump is gaining ground with Black and Hispanic voters, groups that traditionally have supported Democrats. Trump's campaign sees an opportunity to grab enough of their votes to make the difference in battleground states in November 5th election. That is not the case with New York, which Trump lost by 23 percentage points in 2020 and has no chance of winning this year, political analysts say. but a well-attended rally held in the city and covered by major TV networks could help project his message to Black and Hispanic voters nationwide. I think it is part of this larger narrative where he is trying to chip away at Biden's support amongst Black and Latino men, primarily, said Christina Greer, an associate professor of political science at Fordham University. By him going to the South Bronx, he can say, I'm talking to communities that Joe Biden is taking for granted. Trump's focus on Black voters reflect both candidates' efforts to look beyond their base in what national polls show to be a close rematch. Some 40% of registered voters in a recent poll said they would vote for Biden if the election were held today, with the same share picking Trump. Trump won the U.S. presidency in 2016 with less support from Black and Hispanic voters than any president in at least 40 years, that made up ground with both groups in the 2020 race. In a New York Times Siena College poll in March, Trump was elected by 23% of Black and 46% of Hispanic respondents in a one-on-one matchup with Biden. That is far higher than the 12% of Black and 32% of Hispanic voters Trump won in 2020, according to Edison Research exit polls. Political analysts have attributed Biden's slipping support among non-white voters this election cycle in part to the outsized impact of inflation on people living paycheck to paycheck. Alvin Bragg says he decided to become a lawyer after guns were pulled on him 6 times while growing up in New York, 3 of those times by police. A quarter century after graduating from Harvard Law School, the Manhattan District Attorney's legacy is set to be defined by the looming verdict in one of the most consequential cases in American history, the criminal trial of former President Donald Trump over hush money paid to porn star Stormy Daniels. The trial, which is winding down after more than a month, is likely the only one that a Republican presidential candidate challenging Democratic incumbent Joe Biden will face before the November 5th election. Prosecutors finished calling witnesses on Monday, and the defense rested its case on Tuesday, paving the way for closing arguments and jury deliberations next week. Since Bragg unveiled the first fourth indictment against Trump last year, he has been a frequent target of Trump's vitriolic social media post. A gag order imposed by Justice Juan Merchan to restrict Trump's public statement about jurors, witnesses, and individual prosecutors does not apply to Bragg, an elected official. The crooked new city DA, Alvin Bragg, who is allowing violent crime to run rampant on the sidewalks of New York, has absolutely no case against me, Trump posted on May 4th on his Truth Social platform. Election interference. Bragg's office says overall crime in Manhattan is down by 8% over the past 2 years, with murders and shootings falling 29% and 46% respectively. The former president stands accused of covering up a reimbursement to former lawyer Michael Cohen, who paid Daniels $130,000 before the 2016 election for her silence about a sexual liaison she says she had with Trump a decade earlier. Trump has pleaded not guilty. Bragg, who took office in January 2022, has said falsification of business record cases are the bread and butter of his office's white-collar work. This is the business capital of the world, Bragg told reporters. After the indictment was unsealed on April 4th, 2023, the basis for business integrity and a well-functioning business marketplace is true and accurate record keeping. Bragg has occasionally attended the trial, sitting in the courtroom audience in a spot reserved for his office's staff. Bird flu has been detected at a second farm in Western Victoria, 130 kilometers west of the farm, where 400,000 chickens are being euthanized after the outbreak was first detected. The farm in Terang is linked to the Meredith Erg farm, about 440 kilometers northwest of Geelong, where the mass chicken cull and disposal is taking place after an outbreak of the highly pathogenic H7N3 strain of avian influenza. Agriculture Victoria said officers had extended control orders to include a 1.5-kilometer restricted area around the Terang farm, in addition to the 5-kilometer restricted area around the Meredith farm. Both properties are also subject to a brother control area buffer. The strain at both properties, H5N1 strain, which had been wreaking havoc globally, Victoria's chief veterinarian Graham Cook said. The strain of the virus detected near Meredith is H7N3, which is different from the H5N1 avian influenza strain that is impacting the U.S. and other parts of the world, Cook said. While cases among humans in direct contact with animals infected with highly pathogenic avian influenza viruses are possible, the public remains low. On Wednesday, a child was confirmed as Australia's first human case of the H5N1 variant spreading around the world. The child, who returned to Victoria from India in March, experienced a severe infection after contracting. Full recovery and contact tracing had not identified any further cases. The H5N1 strain had yet to be detected in